What is elder abuse like? What does it look like? How is it occurring in tribal communities?
Well, actually, right now we're learning quite a bit because there is very minimal response in Indian country. There hasn't been many tribes really taking on this issue. And when we think about what it looks like, there's a lot of similarities to mainstream communities in terms of the different types of violence that's occurring, but there's also some that are very specific to tribes. When we think about how culture gets used and spiritual abuse gets used, and when we think about how people use an elder's access to ceremonies and cultural events as a form of controlling them or denying them an ability to participate. There might also be instances where someone might threaten to put bad medicine on somebody as a form of controlling them, or even put bad medicine on them, or deny them their ability to participate in cultural and spiritual roles that they have in the community. An elder's role gets defined by their capacity in the community, their role in the community. So as a person who carries a lot of wisdom, who carries culture, carries the oral tradition, there's different ways that that gets held by a person. It's often someone of age that has maturity with that wisdom, but it's not necessarily clearly defined by a cutoff of you turned 65, so now you're officially an elder. So that's different than non-Native communities.
How about barriers? Again, we've heard our colleagues talk today about a variety of unique barriers that older victims might face, victims from particular communities, victims who are poor. And so when you think about victims who are living in a tribal community, are there unique barriers that they face to getting help, getting services?
We have a lot of challenges in our tribal communities, and one of them is that many of the tribes have not developed the infrastructure to create a response. So it opens up a challenge around reaching out into non-Native systems surrounding the tribal lands. And in that, there's jurisdictional challenges and sovereignty challenges that can be significant barriers. And then we can also look at the close personal challenges and barriers that an elder might experience where raising an issue of abuse for themselves creates a difficulty for them where they may be put in a position to where if this offender or abuser is removed, that they themselves run the risk of whether or not they can stay in their home, and it may even force them to be relocated off tribal lands. So it pulls them out of their community. One of our big challenges is that first off, in our tribal communities, we haven't opened the issues up. But when we look at elder abuse in our tribal communities, we have to critically think about historical trauma, so that as we look at the response to elder abuse, we are not only dealing with the current trauma of the abuse, but we're also dealing with multi-generational trauma that an elder has experienced and is carrying with them. So they may be somebody who has lived through the boarding school era and had multiple things happened that oftentimes people think of as happening multiple centuries ago, but they still have living experiences with that. So in opening up the issue of elder abuse, whether it's to address it, to keep them safe, and other people, practitioners intervening, that we have to hold into account the historical trauma and respond in a ways that protect that elder from what that means to open up the current trauma, which will possibly open up the bigger trauma. I think that when we look at the strengths that we have within our tribal communities, our values and belief systems are our strongest asset. So when we think about how we're going to respond to elder abuse and how we're going to offer services and protection and resources to our elders, we really want to look at our belief systems around how we honor and respect and hold our elders in high esteem. And I think that as we bring the community together, recognizing those values are going to be key in making any kind of changes.